Hello, I am RJ Siebert III. I am a Master of Music student through the virtual campus at Bowling Green State University. And my topic today is entitled Motivation in Music Learning, Creating an I-CAN Growth Mindset in the Upper Elementary Music Classroom. I hope you enjoy my presentation. My first thing I'd like to point out in motivation in music learning are these two people down below on your screen. There's a student that is highlighted in green, and there's a student that's highlighted in a pink magenta. One of them that is learning a piece says, I can't play Für Elise. The other one says, you can't play Für Elise yet. Which person would you relate to the most? Would it be the person in green or the person in pink? And maybe even think about this in the way of an upper elementary 4th, 5th grader, even 6th grade student who is learning an instrument for the first time. I might have been the person who was over in the green. I can't play Für Elise, therefore I'm not going to continue. But there might have been someone in your life, a teacher, a colleague, a friend, or a parent, that might have instilled this sort of mindset upon you. We're going to discuss more of this growth in fixed mindsets later throughout this presentation. But let's start at the beginning. What is motivation? According to the American Psychological Association, motivation is simply a person's willingness to exert physical or mental effort in pursuit of a goal or an outcome, which essentially just means how much is someone going to work in order to get what they want. So when we are working towards a goal using motivation, there's a few different things that are part of motivation. Staying positive, focusing on your dreams, setting new goals, generating ideas, figuring out why you're there in the first place so you can continue to move forward. Are you really motivated if you're not following those ideas? Secondly, can we think about learning motivation? Do we learn motivation as students or even adults in real life? Or maybe we're born with it. Is that motivation instilled in us from the day that we're born? Or do we learn it from our environment around us? Can we learn it through school, through our parents, through friends, colleagues, the internet? Or maybe it's a mix of both inheritance and learning. Now, with that in mind, I'd like to think about, or I'd like you to think about, your definition of motivation. While you're thinking about your version of motivation, I'd like you to listen to growth mindset, which is essentially your intelligence, abilities, and skills that are developed through hard work, practice, and resilience. Resilience is one of my favorite words, to keep going, to push through as much as you can in order to get what you want. So basically saying your smarts, your abilities are done through what you do. So everything is based upon those experiences in life. That everybody can work towards a goal and a challenge. It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter who you are or your life experiences. Every human on this earth can work towards a goal and a challenge. Now I'd like to go and look at an article. There is a lady who is a psychologist at Stanford University by the name of Carol Dweck, who was truly a pioneer in the study of this growth mindset. And when she did a study in the early 2000s, she concluded in her research that when students believe in their ability to grow, that they're more likely to succeed than those who, let's say, have a stuck or a fixed mindset. So the growth mindset, according to her, allows people to value what they're doing regardless of the outcome. So they're tackling problems, charting new courses, and working on important issues. And when they are tackling those problems and are met with failure, this is a big part of growth mindset, that failure can turn into a learning opportunity. Now think about a beginning band student, or even a beginning student who is learning an instrument for the first time, a recorder, a ukulele, or maybe a student beginning in choir for the first time. There's going to be a lot more failures than successes in your beginning ensembles. It's how those students and the educator goes about dealing with those failures, that the failures can turn into learning opportunities not only for the student, but for the teacher as well. And some of the thoughts that I saw in this image over here were really nice as a growth mindset. Failure is an opportunity to grow. You take what does not work and change it. I can learn to do anything that I want, right? Challenges help me grow. Efforts and attitude determine my abilities. Feedback is constructive, right? We want to make sure that feedback is constructive so that way they can learn as much as they can without making the student feel bad, right? I'm inspired by the success of others. So when others succeed, it turns it into a bravo moment. For example, when I have a student learn the G chord for the first time, I usually will say bravo in the classroom, and everybody else is encouraged to say bravo after the teacher, which encourages others to learn more as well. I like to try new things, trying new chords, trying new notes on the ukulele or recorder, all take in that growth mindset that educators enjoy seeing inside the music classroom. Now for the opposite, the fixed mindset. Now the fixed mindset is basically the abilities that the student has are determined already, set in stone. Whether you like it or not, they are already set. You cannot change it whatsoever. It is inherited no matter what. Now, when this happens, it usually turns into failures. Because when you are in the classroom, especially in upper elementary music room, you're going to have a lot of failures. Okay? Your achievements are your successes, and no achievements are failures. That can be a big problem. So your mindset changes from fixed to growth if the teacher is able to do so. And I want to think about what is your current mindset as a student and as an educator. So the self-determination theory that's also important in motivation is another example of motivation. It's a theory that is set in that. So when self-determination theory happens, it's basically when students are engaged, when they can show ownership in their learning, that they have an actual choice in what they're learning. It was developed in the 1980s by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, but recently, 2018, there was a group of researchers, McIntyre, Schnarr, and Ross, wanted to see if self-determination theory could be incorporated into music learning, and it can. So self-determination theory does play a role in motivating music students through autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So continuing on with this self-determination theory, it's basically finding those fun strategies to spark interest in music, in the music room. How to get your kids fired up to learn as much as possible through autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And we're going to dive into that in just a minute here. For example, in my experience in the elementary music room, when we switched from recorders to ukuleles during the COVID pandemic, this really increased their enthusiasm as they wanted to learn a new instrument that they haven't heard of yet. This also boosted motivation and success, and Not only that, but it impacted the beginning middle school ensembles as they wanted to continue learning not only instruments but songs as well. Very, very, a lot of growth and success with that as well. So one of the first components of self-determination theory is autonomy, which is basically your ability to make decisions on your own. You have a choice in how you behave in music class. So when you have participation, it's because those students feel like it is important to participate. If they didn't participate, they would know it wouldn't be important. But since they are participating in your class, that they believe that it is important, and those choices in your lives will determine how you are later on in life. Competence. When I think of competence, I think of the 1930s book, The Little Engine That Could, how the engine says, I think I can, as it continues up the hill, right? One's belief that it can accomplish something successfully, right? So think about that train going up the hill, I think I can, right? It gives you that increased pride and self-esteem, as well as when you instill that upon your older elementary music students, that'll help them gain confidence in learning more instruments and pieces if they are in orchestra or choir as they continue on with their music journeys as well in the school setting. Relatedness, right? So you have a sense of belonging inside of a group or a social connection in someone's life. I love looking at this picture. She was one of my former students at Interlochen last summer, and look at the smile on her face and the attentiveness that she has, seeing that she is part of a group of students playing in one of our piano labs that we're having. It doesn't matter if it's an ensemble, chamber group, or class, it's important to show that relatedness in every student that you have. And the foundation of that relatedness begins in the elementary level, because when they get into middle school or high school, that group participation increases tenfold, and really your engagement continues to group success. So the more kids that are engaged in your ensemble, the higher success you're going to have. And finally, the music model of academic motivation is my last theory in motivation. This motivation is essentially saying that when students basically this music model explains factors that motivate students to learn. So in 1992, there was a group of colleagues and a professor who wanted to see if they could transform a culture of a school through some of their components. And those components are empowerment, usefulness, success, interest, and care. And Parks in 2015 applied it into the musical classroom as well to see if it would work, and it did. So empowerment basically refers to the feeling control over their educational desires. Usefulness is learning material to align with your goals and assisting them with those goals. Success is the student's belief that with effort that they can accomplish whatever they desire. And having interest has more of that curiosity, that how or why in learning. And finally, with caring or care, which is your support from your educational team, either at the school or in the community or at home. So I encourage you to try one of these theories inside your classroom, even if you are in the middle school or high school levels, to see what would work or would not work, and take what you can with this lecture as well. I learned a lot of these motivational theories during the COVID era, especially during online instruction. And when we returned back into the school setting as a new normal, it provided more of a motivation to find what works for students and what does not work for students, especially in the online level. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for staying and continuing on pursuing the fine arts. Have a wonderful day.